Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. How are you doing? My name is Larry. For those ones who are new to this page, welcome to this series where we talk about loops and stems and how to make them work for you. In this episode, we are going to be talking about hardware and why it's really important. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to showcase some cables, some equipment that we're going to use for this episode. To start us off, we have a 1/4-inch jack, 1/4-inch jack to 3.5. The second one would be a female XLR to a 1/4-inch jack. We also have a male XLR to a 1/4-inch jack. We have a 3.5 jack to 2. It has been split to 2. It has been split to 2 1/4-inch mono cables. With me, I have a really huge cable. This is my in-ear cable. So on one side, I have female XLR, and on the other side, I have somewhere where you can put your in-ears. I also have this balanced cable. It's jack on one side, male XLR on the other side. I also have a hard drive. I have a Scarlett Focusrite, 4 in, 4 out. I have a DI with me. I also have a headphone amp with me. Let's dive right into it. So I must have forgotten to mention that I will also be talking about a laptop, but I don't have it with me. It's back there recording. But that's the first thing we're going to be talking about, a laptop. Someone asked me if you can run tracks and stems on just an ordinary laptop, because we have ordinary laptops and then we have MacBooks. But my answer to that is yes. I use a HP laptop. I have a Windows operating system installed on it, and the only thing I had to do so that the laptop works for me, I had to upgrade the RAM to 16 GB, and I also had to upgrade the space. So I'm using 512 gigabytes of SSD. I had HDD before, but right now I have SSD. So why SSD? SSD, not to use a lot of technical terms, but it's easy to fetch information from an SSD than a HDD. How the drives are created, how the mechanics are, it's easy to fetch information from an SSD. So what I do in a performance or in a situation where I have a gig or something, I will run all my tracks from an SSD. Of course, they are all. So this is the first thing we're going to be looking at. This is my HDD, 2 terabytes. This is where everything of mine is. So normally during practice, I will run my stuff from here. But when it comes to a gig, I will run them from an SSD because I don't want any fallouts. I don't want it to start telling me can't trip on the disk. I don't know what. Yeah. So to avoid that, I just copy the files into my laptop and then we play. To add on top of that, I have backed up everything that is on this hard drive to my Google Drive. So of course, yes, I pay for storage, but it's worth it, because if someone was to steal this hard drive, of course it has a password, but it can be hacked. Anything can happen. So if I lose this today, at least I know I have all my tracks in the cloud. And I know producers relate to this sometimes. Your drives crash, zinatoa moshi, So to avoid that, it's just really important to back up everything. So the good thing with Google Drive, it syncs in real time. So any change I do to Google Drive, it will reflect in this hard drive. If I was to download something in my laptop and then put it directly to my Google Drive, it will be downloaded into my hard drive instantly. So it's really important. So when it comes to cabling is really important. You really need to know your stuff, because many a times you'll meet sound engineers or just people who are operating the sound booth, and they have no clue what you're talking about. They're like, you need to split this and that, and they're like, ah. So personally, over the years, I've really learned how to know what goes where and how the whole process is. So we are going to start with, in my opinion, the most simplest way to route your tracks to the house. And it's by use of this cable. Yes. So why I say it's simple, because this is all you need. You just need your laptop and this cable. You of course know where this goes, into your 3.5. You know where you usually insert your headphones. This is where this goes. And this one goes into your mixer. So this is if the mixer is close to you. If not, you really need really need to have a DI. Hopefully they'll provide it for you, where you can just input them, and then they will just go to the Snake or the house mixer, via XLR. That has to be the simplest way. So as we look, or as we will see later in the series, you'll have to split tracks and click. So the only disadvantage you have with this system is that if at all you don't have in-ears, this one works well if you have in-ears, but what if you don't? So you'll really need to think thoroughly about that, because one will go to the house, yes, what about this that has a click? The drummer needs the click in his ears. So what I would do in such a situation, I'd use this headphone amp and connect the click to the input. And then I'll have a cable. Maybe you can use just a headphone extender to the drummer, and then he can get the click through this headphone amp. And then the track will go on this side. It will go to the house. So that has to be the simplest way to run these tracks, or to route these tracks. So the second one would involve a sound card. So with me, I have a Focusrite Scarlett 4-in 4-out, meaning it has 4 inputs and 4 outputs. So we're just going to generalize the word sound card. We're not going to be talking about Focusrite. We're not going to be talking about 4i4. So a sound card is really good because you have options. For example, assuming I was using a sound card that has 2 outputs. So this one has 4. So let's ignore the 2 inputs. It only has these 2. So what happens in this case, you just input your jack to jacks. Yeah? Jack to jacks. So I have this important cable that I usually work with a lot. So let me just connect this, because for the sake of this method, a jack will make sense. So on this side I have a jack, and on this side I have somewhere where you can input. So this is just a converter. How it actually looks, let me just remove it. This cable is actually available. I will tag the one who made it for me Shout out to second generation. So it's actually a female. Yeah. So this is where you input jack pin, and then your earphone gets inside there. So how I run, especially not really small gigs, but gigs that don't have in ears. So I'll enter these into the sound card. Into the sound card. And then the other side, it's just two outputs. And then this one will have the house. This is what will fit the house. So the drummer in this case can be able to hear the click alone. You can also route the tracks to go to this side, but generally that is what happens. So I will keep insisting, even as we continue this series, that a click is really important. The drummer needs the click in his ears because that is what keeps you in time. And if the drummer is going to rely on the loop, if the drummer is just going to rely on the loop, for example, you have some wedges. By wedges, I mean some monitors on stage, and you expect him to hear it from. There's a lot that happens. He's a drummer. There's a lot that goes on with the acoustics. Like the drum can be loud, of course. We have the cymbals, they're making too much noise that in a way that he cannot be able to hear the monitors. So it's important if he has it in his ears. So this cable has been really in any setting, I've always used it. So be it using this headphone amp, you just connect it there and it just goes to the drummer. So drummers, if you're watching this, you don't need this cable. This cable, your keyboardist will not provide it for you like I do. Bradley. So yeah, sound card is, so for example, many sound cards usually have these headphone port. They usually have this headphone port. So you can also connect the jack to this port, and then at least you can be able to control the volume. And the tracks and the loops will go through this port. So in other days, now when I have to use this one as a 4 out, I will. So something I did not mention. So when you're doing all those, when you're using this cable, anytime you're using two outputs and one has click, the other one has a track, the signal you're sending to the mixer is mono. Yeah, the signal you're sending is mono. It doesn't matter the kind of cable you use. What matters is what you send through it. But if you send a stereo signal through a mono channel, of course you'll get a mono sound. You'll get a mono signal. So for all those that we have discussed, you'll be sending a mono signal. But if you use a sound card like this that has 4 outputs, you get 2 outputs where you can send in your tracks and loops as stereo. So that is one jack, another jack, and then you can have click on either of these, and maybe you can have something else on the 4th output. So you can go, and I'd recommend, okay, I've worked with Focusrite all my life, but Presonus is also a good sound card. Behringer is also a good sound card. You can research for yourself the pros and cons. So in other days, I'd use this cable to connect the in-ear cable as well. So that is what it's for. So the days I need to split the signal from the snake. So maybe they don't have in-ears, but at least we have our own earphone extenders and etc. So this cable that I have here, this is a female XLR. So when it comes to cables, especially these ones, anything male is something that enters, just that logic. We are playing that same logic. If it has holes like this, then it will be a female port. So this is a female XLR. So logically, in a snake or in a mixer, the outputs on the mixer are usually male. So you need to connect this female. So this is an output cable from the mixer to this headphone amp into the input, and then I can distribute it to 4 other people. So maybe the drummer. So in this case, I'd do that, and then I'd connect this in-ear cable to maybe port 2, and then I send it to the drummer and he'll be able to hear. So even as we talk about softwares in the next episode, we're going to be able to see how to actually route, where the tracks go into this channel, the click goes into this channel, etc, etc. There's one cable I didn't talk about. So this is just a 3.5 pin to a 1/4 inch. So sometimes it just helps when playing music from your phone. So maybe you connect this in your phone, and then this you connect it to your sound card, and it works. So that is all about hardware. You of course need a pair of in-ears, and you're good to go. So it's really important to know what goes where, what does what, because as a playback engineer, you'll realize that people don't know what's going on. People are like, okay, so this is your rig, this is your setup, explain it to me, like what am I supposed to do? So you need to think about these things. Sometimes you'll go to a gig and assess it, and you'll see, okay, they don't have much, they only have one channel. Okay, so what am I going to do? You need to have options. Yeah, you need to sit down and maybe sketch. Yeah, if it helps. If you can't sketch it in your head, just sit down with a piece of paper. Okay, think, okay, now where's the click going? How is the drummer getting the click? What cable do I need? So in the end, you'll realize you'll just accumulate all these cables because you actually need them for different scenarios. Yeah, so that's all about hardware. See you in the next.